So I really do love this Apple Watch. Had it for about 6 weeks now, and I've also had this Garmin EPIX for 8 months. So it's time to finally give you my verdict of what I think of this watch now that I've used it all around the world. Does it make sense for everybody? Doesn't. It has one major flaw. So let's get into it. Let's talk about the final verdict on the Apple Watch Ultra, and really including this one big major flaw that you definitely want to know about before you try to buy it. So let's get right into it. What is the biggest negative about the Apple Watch? It's the lack of navigation. Terrible. It has all the features and really hardware to make this work, but it doesn't have the software to make it work, definitely compared to a Garmin EPIX. This is a big deal, especially if you are off-grid and you really don't know where you are. You would really want a way to navigate. The Garmin EPIX has that. Yeah, there's a couple of ways to do the software, but it's not perfect. Let's talk about a case in point. And so I went on a trip to Quito, Ecuador, went on a 4-ish hour hike into the wilderness, climbed up a peak. Ruku Pinchacha. Well, before I went to an unknown location, I wanted to have all the tools at my disposal to make sure I was safe, went the right direction and didn't get lost. So I used my Apple Watch to record the route and do what I could with it, which was not navigate. I also had my Garmin EPIX on the other wrist, and to ensure that I was going in the right place, I actually downloaded a route. So this is super easy. You go to your Garmin Connect app on your phone, you look for courses. Once you find the courses, look for the area that you're in, find the course that matches your intended route, download it, send it to your watch, update your watch so that the update actually gets into it, and then boom, there you are, it's on your watch. And then when you get to your start point, you do a hike, look for the course, activate the course, boom, go. On the route, now you have navigation. So while you're navigating, fantastic, and you go off course a little bit, beep, 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 your watch beeps. Actually I have the beeps silenced, but it does thump, vibrate, look down, you're off course. So then you can, and even gives you a direction. So now you can go back to course. So this happens several times. And a lot of places, you know, in like this environment where you have trees marked or signs, not such a big deal, but when you're in the middle of a peak in Ecuador, no trees, and yes, there were some rocks that were marked to give you an indication if you were on or off the trail, but sometimes it's just a rocky face and you really don't know which way is up. And well, you do know which way is up, but you don't know which way is the trail. So you can look at your course that you downloaded and it's on your map on your wrist. Fantastic. You know, just another side note, backup all trails on your phone, also fantastic. So really I had 3 nav models going between this, although not navigating, but recording, the Garmin, and then my phone with all trails route on it. So it was fantastic. All right, so back to the story. So there we are in the middle of Ecuador, climbing up a hill, and this thing just keeps me navigating on course, which was awesome. I'd never been there, wasn't exactly sure which way the perfect route was to get to the summit, and so this was awesome. And a couple times I actually did get way off course, and this thing helped me navigate back to where I needed to be. So that's it. That's the number one thing that this Apple Watch Ultra lacks, is that ability to navigate. Yes, there are other apps that might do that, but they're not perfect. So the number one thing that everybody reached out and told me about was WorkOutDoors. So I had WorkOutDoors before, I actually had it on my Apple Watch when I did these tests. And so I used it a little bit, but there's 2 things that make WorkOutDoors not the solution for me. Number 1 is the fact that either WorkOutDoors or Apple, one of them, prevents you from accessing that screen when it's like off your wrist and asleep. So everything else that's native to Apple, when you open up your wrist, boom, it shows you what's active. However, when it's on its side at a little angle, you can't exactly see what's on the screen, but you can see what's on the screen, what's native. So like I said, like Strava does this, WorkOutDoors does it. When it's off to the side, you can't see the data. You have to fully open the watch face, which is kind of annoying for me, especially on something that's critical to navigation. I just like to kind of see it even at an angle. So that's what's awesome about the native apps in the Apple Watch. Things you can't do, but the Garmin does natively as well. So that's number one. Number two is the ability to get routes into WorkOutDoors. Not that easy. You have to have a GPX file from another program and import it into WorkOutDoors for it to even work. So that's just multiple steps. I gotta use a third program to put in WorkOutDoors and then put it on my Apple Watch. Too many steps. Everything in the Garmin lane is super easy to use, and you're just using other people's routes, putting it into your watch, and off you go. So that's why WorkOutDoors isn't the solution for me. It is a stopgap measure, and if you really had to dive into the Apple Watch and survive somehow, WorkOutDoors will get you, and it has a ton of other features. I'm not going to get into that, but people asked, and so yes, you could navigate off the Apple Watch using WorkOutDoors. It just doesn't work for me. It's not what I would call an Apple solution, and so hopefully the Apple solution is coming soon. Another solution that people talked about was Backtrack. Does Backtrack work? Not really. It doesn't help you navigate. It only helps you when you're lost and you need to backtrack out. It doesn't automatically navigate or activate for you if you start a route, which is also sort of negative for me. And so I started it now. I'm out here in the woods and I'm looking at the screen, and it does tell me where I've been. And if I had to retrace my steps, I could probably do this and get close. So back to my story in Ecuador, if I didn't have the Garmin route and I just went about my merry way, I wouldn't know where the trail was. But if I did get way off track, I could circle back using Backtrack to get back on track. So yes, it's cool, but it doesn't do what Garmin does, and it's a quite easily solution for you, if you ask me, to put that into the watch, because you have all the hardware that does most of it for you anyway. So just finish it off. So that's it. That's the big negative. That's the big deal. And it's sort of un-Apple-like, the fact that they released a product that you can't navigate with that tries to do everything ultra. So if you're one of these people out on the desert, climbing the mountain, all that stuff that they put in that intro video, this watch doesn't do those things. In fact, I wouldn't choose that watch to do those things. I would choose the Garmin EPIX or even a Garmin Fenix if you didn't need that AMOLED display. So does that mean I don't recommend the Apple Watch Ultra to anybody? No, not true. In fact, it is perfect for a certain subset of people, and it includes me, that will probably use this watch 80% of the time and use the Garmin EPIX for 10% of the time. How do I get that split? What makes this awesome? Let's get to my top 3 reasons why you might choose the Ultra. All right, so I came up with 3 reasons why the Apple Watch Ultra might be the perfect watch for you. Number 1 is if you are deeply immersed in the Apple ecosystem and you need a fitness watch, then the Ultra is definitely the one to get, because it has, as number 2 on my list says, a better battery than the traditional Apple Watches. It says twice as long. So that's cool, but it doesn't still touch what an EPIX can do in terms of battery life. But if you needed that Apple ecosystem on your wrist and you want to be tied to your phone, then the Apple Watch definitely is it. Number 2 is battery. And then number 3 is the LTE capabilities that is really only available in the Apple Watch right now. The Garmin, some Garmins do it, but the EPIX and Fenix don't have that capability just yet. So if you needed the LTE, you need that connectivity in your wrist without your phone, then the Ultra is definitely a strong contender. So what about the EPIX? Who's the EPIX good for? Well, here's 3 reasons why the EPIX might be the watch for you. Number 1 is if you want an excellent fitness watch that does smartwatch things, then this watch will definitely be the watch for you because of what it does. Number 2, we return to battery, and like the Apple Watch, the Ultra is really good in the Apple world in terms of battery life. The EPIX and the Fenix both put all the Apple Watches to shame. This one gets 36. I've actually gotten 48 hours, exactly 48 hours, with a lot of fitness tracking. This one, in my typical daily use, gets about 6 days, not hours, 6 days in the same mode. and you can totally extend that with a lot of customizable features inside all the Garmin devices that you really can't do right now with the Apple Watches. So we're talking hours to days. So the Apple Watch battery, whew, the Garmin, EPIX, and Phoenix batteries blow the Apple Watches out of the water. The third thing is fitness tracking. Nobody beats the either real-time fitness tracking, the data that you get on your wrist, although that's getting pretty close with the Apple Watch Ultra screens, and really the running features on all the devices is pretty cool. But nothing beats the total health profile. The way Garmin puts it together is just so much better. And if you're gonna be a serious athlete and want to track and have additional features during your activities, then the EPIX or Phoenix is definitely gonna be the watch for you if that's your focus. If you're more day-to-day focused on what's going on in your phone, then the Apple Watch still is king, but this is by far the better fitness device. A couple cleanup items. First of all, I talked about a problem with Apple Watch that you can only use some of the features in the run mode. That's not true. As somebody corrected, and I'll point out right now, you can activate those same features on any of the other fitness modes on the Apple Watch just by activating them on those individual screens. So super easy to do if you're a hiker, walker, and you want some of that advanced stuff and other screens to swipe up through, you can get it. It's not just run, you just have to activate it on the screen. So it's super cool. Which brings me to my final verdict. So which one's better for me? Personally, well, I'm swinging the pendulum into the Apple Watch camp right now just because of the way I operate day to day. The Apple Watch for me is a much better device. It does fitness things. If I'm gonna go out and do light running, it's perfect. However, if I'm going on an expedition, anything really outdoors where I really want to track better data and have that total fitness profile, those are the days that the EPIX is going to come out. And really, I've got a couple things coming up in 2023. We're totally off grid, we're up in the mountains, that kind of thing. There's no way I'm taking the Apple Watch in its current state unless they update the features. I'm definitely going EPIX or Phoenix, probably the EPIX because I have it. I love that AMOLED display. We're taking this totally off grid because this is the watch that's going to live, and the battery will take me all the way to wherever I need to go, and I'll be able to put the course on the watch and just totally be able to navigate. So that's how we're gonna live. Both watches for me for right now, but probably an 80-20 split, 90-10 depending on what's going on day to day. But really this Apple Watch I do really like. Let's talk about watch bands for the Apple Watch. So when it comes to watch bands for the Apple Watch, the best news about the whole thing was that all your legacy bands that you've had from previous editions all fit this Ultra. So I've tried lots of them, from the cheap ones that you can get on Amazon. They just don't last that long. But really what I've settled onto for the last 3 generations, including this Ultra, is Nomad. So this is different colors of Nomad bands that I really do love. I love the texture, and I got 4 different ones. I've got the green, which is pretty cool. Just the standard black, go to work, do whatever you want. And then this new color of blue, grayish blue, kind of an odd color, but it is awesome, definitely stands out. And then just standard gray. So I love the Nomads bands, they just fit perfectly, and I've had some of these for quite a while, and they haven't changed in the way they feel. Much different than some of those cheaper Amazon ones that I've gotten. They just seem to fall apart after a few weeks, where the Nomad bands, I switch them out, do whatever I need to, and they just are awesome. So highly recommend, link in the description to the Nomad bands if you want to check them out. They're fantastic. So that's it. That's the walkthrough. That's the final verdict on the Apple Watch Ultra. Big fan of the watch. It is going to be probably my daily driver, as I just want to be connected to the world around me and what's going on my phone. But if I'm gonna go expedition style, definitely Garmin EPIX. Definitely saved my bacon up in Ecuador. And so that's it. Final verdict, Apple Watch. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. Got lots more coming up. Most of my videos focus on other gear to get you outside, mostly backpacks, but I have some other expedition style stuff coming up and some additional things from Huckberry on the horizon. So you'll definitely want to sign up for alerts and stay in the know on what's going on the channel. Until then, this is fall in Georgia. It's awesome. We'll see you next time. Enjoy the great outdoors where you are. And another small note, I'm not even sure this video is going to see the light of day. Why? Because LumaFusion is somehow suddenly incompatible with my iPad. I updated to iOS 16 and apparently it's not compatible. I can't access my SSD drive, which is a problem. So I don't know how this video is going to come out. If I'm going to jump to DaVinci Resolve or stick with LumaFusion, but this is a big deal. I've actually had to go with a backup iPad to make this whole thing work. This is what it is. This is the struggle. Just generally watching these things and then bands. The camera that we're using is the new Sony ZF. So that's the big thing. That's the big negative. The big reason why I don't recommend the Navigate